One on the agenda, please.
We have minutes for meetings held April the 14th, 2016, and the emergency meeting held on April the 15th, 2016.
Commissioner Krieger.
I move we accept the minutes from 14 April and we defer the minutes from 15 April.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner McCarthy. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
Commission now proceed with number 2, the application for special one-day license to sell dispense malt beverages and wines only, or either one. Gabby Davis of Maiden Lowell has filed a number of applications for activities this summer, starting with the event at Lucy Larkin Park on Friday nights. That will be Friday, the May 13th, 2016, 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. She's also filed for an event at Point Park, Utopia Park, Friday nights. That's Friday, June 10th, 2016, 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. Then there is the Lucy Larkin Park Summer Kickoff for Friday, June 17th, 2016, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. I'm told that the Palmer Street event for Saturday, June 18th, from 12 noon to 5 p.m. will not include beer and wine, so the board need not take action on that application. Gabby Davis has also filed application for an event at Cardinal O'Connell Parkway for Friday nights, Friday, July 8th, 2016, from 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. Again, for Gabby has an event for Lucy Larkin Park on Friday nights, Friday, August 12th, 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. And last is her event for the Cardinal O'Connell Parkway, Friday nights, Friday, October the 14th, from 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. We also have Michael Glicksman of the Merrimack Repertory Theater for a theatrical performance at Liberty Hall, 50 East Merrimack Street, called the 2.5-Minute Ride. It's a play reading. This will be for Monday evening, May 2nd, 2016. There'll be a concession sales and service for 45 minutes prior to the performance and at an intermission. Tabitha Garnett, who is the catering manager for Aramark, has filed several applications. On her behalf is Tracy Martino, who is the general manager for Aramark Catering. She is here on her behalf. So Tabitha has an event for the University Crossing at 220 Pawtucket Street, the second floor. It will be the Women's Lacrosse Banquet for Sunday, May 1st, 2016, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Tabitha has filed application for an event at the ETIC Atrium at 40 University Ave, the Vice Provost Retirement Party for Wednesday, May 4th, 2016, from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Tabitha informed me earlier, yesterday, I believe it was, that her event for the event May 10th, 2016 has been canceled. There will be no need for the board to act on that application. We also have an application. Is Francie Slater here? Francie Slater? Okay. We'll continue on. I think that's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Nguyen. Cheryl, state your name for the record, please. Hi, Gabby.
Hello. Tracy Martino, Aramark.
Hi, Tracy.
Michael Glicksman with Merrimack Repertory Theater.
All familiar faces. Gabby, tell us what's Friday nights all about.
Friday night is a new event series we have this year. It is the second Friday of every month between May and October, excluding September. That's with the Lowell Food and Wine Festival. It's a food truck night market, and we're pretty excited about it. We're going to have a beer and wine garden, 2 to 3 food trucks, live music, and some indie vendors, about 10 vendors selling goods.
Is there a discount for Commissioner McCarthy?
Well, I don't know about that.
All right. Well, that's fine. Questions, comments from the board?
Second.
Move for approval by Commissioner McCarthy, seconded by Commissioner Krieger. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank
Enjoy
you.
all your events. Be safe. Thank you.
Commission now proceed with the application for special one-day license to dispense wines only. Patricia Donahue at Gallery Z, 167 Market Street, for artist reception Friday, June 3rd, 2016, from 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. The artist reception that was scheduled for Friday, the July 8th, has been canceled, but there's a second application for Friday, August the 5th, 2016, from 7 PM to 9:30 PM. There is applications by Steve Syverson, President, the Arts League of Lowell, 307 Market Street, who's filed 3 applications. Do I have Steve's representative here? Would you come to the podium? Sir, your name is? Byron?
Norman Karen.
Yeah, thank you. So Steve Syverson has 3 applications for wine dispensing. John Greenwell retrospective preview party for Friday, May 6th, from 7 PM to 10 PM. The John Greenwald retrospective public reception for Saturday, May 14th, 4 PM to 6 PM, and form-to-figure reception for Saturday, June 25th, from 4 PM to 6 PM.
Could you both state your name for the record, please?
Patricia DeStefano Donahue.
Hi, Patricia.
Norman Karen.
Hey, Norman, how are you?
Good.
Patricia, you've had a couple of these licenses already.
So, yeah,
All right, any questions that you have to ask the board?
nope.
Okay. Mr. Karen, I believe in reading Mr. Wynn's correspondence today, you are tip server as well?
Yes.
You
yes.
are, so
Yep.
any questions on you?
Certified bartender, correct.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the board?
No, I do not.
All right, questions from the commissioners?
Move approval.
Move for approval by Commissioner McGovern, seconded by Commissioner Krieger. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Good luck with all your events.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commission will now take up matters to do with application for a special event permit for amplification of sound for outdoor public entertainment. Gabby Davis of Maiden Lowell for the sound system for live entertainment for Friday nights, May 13th, 2016, 5:30 PM to 9 PM at the Lucy Lockham Park. Gabby is also filed for Friday nights, June 10th, 2016, 5:30 PM to 9 PM for the Point Park Utopia Park. And Gabby has additional application for sound amplification, starting summer kickoff for June 17, 2016, at the Lucy Lockham Park, 5 PM to 9 PM. The summer kickoff for June 18, 2016, from 12 PM to 5 PM, the Palmer Street. And there is the summer kickoff for June 19th, 10 AM to 3 PM at Lucy Lockham Park. Friday nights, July 8th, 2016, from 5:30 PM to 9 PM at the Cardinal O'Connell Parkway. Friday nights for August 12th, 2016, 5:30 PM to 9 PM, Lucy Lockham Park. And Gabby her last application is for Friday nights, October the 14th, 5:30 PM to 9 PM at the Cardinal O'Connell Parkway. We also have an application by the licensee G&AA LLC, doing business as Fuse Bistro, the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee at 45 Palmer Street. Scott Pelletier is the manager. A sound system for band and no disc jockey, starting with May through September 2016. Sunday to Wednesday, 10 AM to 10 PM, and Thursday to Saturday, 10 AM to 12 AM. Enclosed outdoor area in front of 45 Palmer Street at corner of Middle Street.
Thank you, Secretary Wynn. State your name for the record, please.
Gabby Davis with Maiden Lowell.
Scott Pelletier, Fuse Bistro.
How are you, Scott?
Good, thank you.
Good. Deputy Superintendent Webb, any concerns about any of these events?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the board?
No, sir.
No.
Commissioner Krieger?
Yeah, the 19 June Lucy Larkin Park sort of stands out as you didn't apply for a liquor license. It's just sound.
Yes, so that day is a family fun day, and it's basically going to be a pancake cook-off. So no need for liquor, just like the Saturday as well. That day, there's no beverage sales either. That's an art market.
See, I told you there'd be something for you, Cliff. You're all set.
Move approval.
Move for approval by Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner McCarthy. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? The motion carries. Good luck with your events.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Members of the commission, we have an application filed by Aaron App Sellers, LLC, Noel A. Powell Manager, a farmer winery, for a license to sell wine at the farmer's market at the premises of 250 Jackson Street, Mill Number 5, at 4th floor, on Sundays starting June 5th, 2016 through December 25th, 2016, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. each Sunday.
State your name for the record, sir.
Noel Powell.
How are you, Noel?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. How'd it go last year?
It's been a good, decent, steady market. So
Very good.
We're looking to continue the license on through the end of the year.
Seeing steady traffic?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's a nice
Questions,
space.
comments from the board? Move for approval by Commissioner McCarthy, seconded by Commissioner McGovern. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. No, good luck with.
Thank you.
You bet.
Commission will now open a public hearing on the application by the licensee GAA LLC, doing business as Fuse Bistro, Scott Pelletier, manager, the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee at 45 Palmer Street, for a stock transfer from business partner Melissa Haley to Scott Pelletier. Mr. Chairman, this was a legal notice published in the Lowell Sun newspaper on April the 15th, 2016.
State your name for the record.
Scott Pelletier, Fuse Bistro.
Tell us what's going on, Scott.
I'm purchasing the minority share of my former partner.
Okay. Okay, this is a public hearing, so at this time, I'm going to open up the public hearing. Anybody like to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing no one, that portion of the public hearing is closed. At this time, we'll open up the public hearing. Anybody like to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Hearing no one, that portion of the public hearing is closed. We'll show the body. Move for approval by Commissioner McCarthy, seconded by Commissioner Krieger. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Scott, you do a good job over there. Good luck with owning the whole
All right.
thing,
All
right?
right, excellent. Thank you very much.
Very well.
All right.
Scott, this has to go to Boston,
Yes, correct.
the ABC. Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Commission now open another public hearing on the application by the corporation known as Chang Lee, Inc., Lorong Zhang, President, for the transfer of the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant license from Mandarin Lowell Chinese Cuisine Incorporated, premises at 1590 Middlesex Street. It is proposed that Lorong Zhang be approved as the manager of record for Chang Lee, Inc. Chang Lee has filed application for a license for common victualler for premises at 1590 Middlesex Street. A legal notice had been published in the Lowell Sun newspaper on April 15, 2016.
State your name for the record, Councilman.
Evening, everyone. Chris Coleman on behalf of the applicant. I have Lee Rong Zhang with me here, proposed manager. Location you're familiar with, I believe, 1590 Middlesex Street, Mandarin Lowell Chinese Restaurant. Just a little bit about the location very briefly. It's 3,200 square feet. Their occupancy is 66. They have seating for 56. There's 6 bar seats, small lounge bar, and 6 additional seats inside. As far as the plans go, floor plan unchanged, menu unchanged, hours of operation unchanged. The proposed manager's been the bartender there since 2002, so she knows the operation very well. U.S. citizen, tips trained, 40 hours plus there, and she knows the operation better than anybody. Be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, any questions? At this time, we'll open up the public hearing. This time, we'll open up public hearing to anybody who speak in favor. In favor. In favor? Wow. Hearing no one, that portion of the public hearing is closed. At this time, we'll open up the public hearing. Anybody in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Hearing no one, that portion of the public hearing is closed. What is the wish of the body?
Move approval.
Move for approval by Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner McGovern. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Want to wish you best of luck.
Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome.
Commission will now take up number 9 on our meeting agenda, starting with the application by the entity known as NAI Entertainment Holdings LLC, doing business as Showcase Cinema Lowell, the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee at 32 Reese Ave, for change of manager from Sonia Grady to David Maloney of Raymond, New Hampshire.
State your name for the record, sir.
David Maloney.
David, what's going on over at Showcase?
I just took over. I transferred from the Revere location to the Lowell location, so I'm the manager in charge now.
How long you been with Showcase?
15 years.
No kidding, huh? They kind of move you guys every other?
Not typically, but lately. I was in Randolph for 12 years, and then the last 3 years I went from Legacy Place in Dedham to Revere, and then now in Lowell.
How do you like Lowell?
I like it. I live in New Hampshire, so I'm trying to get as close as possible to New Hampshire.
good for you.
Lowell's the closest one, so.
Yeah,
hopefully
Randolph to New Hampshire is a little bit of a hike, isn't it?
Right, yeah. So hopefully I stay there now. So
That's fine.
hopefully I found my home.
We didn't have to go to a public hearing on this, did we, Ryan? No? All right. Questions, comments from the board? Move for approval by Commissioner McCarthy, seconded by Commissioner Krieger. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Best of luck.
All right, thank you.
You got it.
Commission will now take up the application at the corporation known as LCRC Inc., doing business as Dudley's, the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee at 19 Merrimack Street, for change of manager from Matthew J. McCarthy to Matthew J. Murphy of Lowell.
Gentlemen, state your name.
Good evening, Commissioner and the fellow board members. Attorney Michael Zame for Matt Murphy, who's applying as the manager of record. I have Mr. Murphy here with me today. We've submitted to you Mr. Murphy's application. We've submitted a resume here this evening for you to bolster the application. Shows the experience Mr. Murphy has working in different establishments in the city. The Courtyard Bar and Grill. He was a manager at Ward 8 and also now at Dudley's, where he has been. I'm not sure how you want to proceed, Mr. Chairman, at this point, to address some of the issues.
If I remember correctly, Attorney Zane was, I thought that, and maybe Mr. Beloso can chime in here, but my concern, and I'm not speaking on the other commissioners, but I did have concern with the legality of a proxy vote. So can you chime in on this, Attorney Beloso, at all?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. I took a look at the proxy issue. Just by way of background for purposes of this public meeting, an emergency session of the License Commission was held on April 15th in regards to the former manager of record of the establishment, Mr. McCarthy. Mr. McCarthy was found to have been convicted of a drug offense, which would disqualify him from being a manager of record of this establishment. An application was submitted to the License Commission for a Mr. Murphy, who is one of 3 owners of this establishment. There was a question as to the application being submitted, and the basis of the submission was Mr. McCarthy had, through a authorized transfer, gave his proxy rights for voting for purposes of the corporate entity here, in this case LCRC Incorporated, to Mr. Murphy. And then through a corporate vote, which was Mr. Murphy and I believe the third owner abstained from that vote, the application went through. I took a look at the state law into this issue. Massachusetts law in regards to alcohol regulation is silent as to what corporate votes need to be done in order to submit an application. I also checked Massachusetts law in terms of corporate proxy votes, specifically Chapter 156D, Section 7.22. I also took a look at the corporate bylaws and the corporate listing through the Secretary of the Commonwealth's website. The corporate entity appears to be valid, and based on the corporate bylaws, I didn't see anything untoward or anything that would place the validity of that vote into question. There is a provision in the corporate bylaws that in the event that shares would be sold, they have to be transferred or offered to the corporate entity first for buyback. However, in terms of proxy voting rights, there's nothing in the provisions of the corporate bylaws that raises any question. I also took a look at the documents that were submitted in the application, specifically the document from Mr. McCarthy authorizing the transfer of the corporate proxy over to Mr. Murphy. I also took the liberty of checking the signature of Matthew J. McCarthy with that of prior records that the License Commission has. That signature looks valid. There seems to be no issue with that transfer. As a result, it's certainly my position that the corporate proxy was valid, and therefore an application can be submitted for the License Commission's consideration. Now, whether or not the License Commission chooses to approve or disapprove of that application is up to the License Commission at a public hearing. However, for purposes of the corporate proxy review, in my opinion, there's
vote's
nothing, right, there's nothing in either the corporate bylaws or state laws that would invalidate the application and therefore ruin jurisdiction of the License Commission for the application consideration itself.
Thank you, Mr. Peloso. Mr. Zane?
Can I add to that real quickly? And council, did look at those things. The two things that would actually support the vote that took place and the validity of it is two separate statutes involving 156D, special meetings and the waiver of notice. And in the corporate vote, that's under 156D, section 7.2 for special meetings and 7.6 for the waiver of notice. And in your own rules and regulations set forth by the Lowell License Commission, specifically with respect to when a manager becomes absent, either by emergency or known in advance, the steps that need to be taken. And again, they did all the corporate steps, they followed all the corporate formalities, and again, knowing what we were facing as we came down here and why we were down here for the emergency meeting, and knowing what we'd face today, again, all the I's were dotted and all the T's were crossed, and as council says, the only thing that I would say is that the application was submitted first, and then we had to resubmit the corporate vote second because of the change. So that cleared up that, what might have been a potential snafu, if you will.
All right. Putting the legality issue to the side, can we hear from Mr. Murphy and what his plans are for Dudley's if this vote goes in his favor?
Sure. The one other thing that I did want to bring up to you, and I submitted it yesterday to everybody, to Mr. Wynn and to council, with respect to one of the allegations of the non-purchasing alcohol.
I do appreciate that.
You see that there's $255,000 worth of purchases and payments made by the company. So again, as far as any allegation that they're not buying it from the right place, I mean, that seems to be moot at this point, I would think.
I appreciate the documentation. I did go over it today concerning all the different distributors that Mr. Murphy would go through. Mr. Murphy, state your case, sir.
My plans with Dudley's have basically been the same from the beginning, turn it into a gastro pub with food first and liquor second. We have plans to put windows in the building with the owner, turn it into a viable downtown restaurant as far as nightlife goes and, during the day, lunch, stuff like that.
Okay. Deputy Superintendent Webb, any problems since Mr. Murphy in the last three weeks, I believe?
No, Mr. Chairman, there's been no problems.
All right. Questions from the commissioners to Mr. Murphy while he's up there? Commissioner Krieger?
Well, it's not so much for Mr. Murphy. I see his Ward 8 experience. I liked Ward 8. But I'm still concerned that Mr. McCarthy had disqualified himself from any activity in the choice of the new manager. And I've heard Councilor Veloso's presentation, but it's still an issue that bothers me, so I'm moving on now.
Commissioner McGovern, McCarthy? No questions. Hogan?
No.
I think I'd be remiss if I know this is not a public hearing, but I do see Councilor Middleton and I see Mr. Downs here. Though it's not protocol here, but I would, if you do want to speak on, I would let you do that at this time. Councilor, I would caution you, though, to stay on point, and I don't want to get on the straight ahead forward concerning the legality of a proxy vote. I don't think we're here to demean Mr. Murphy in any fashion, so I'd caution you on that.
Thank you. And thank you for allowing me to speak. Again, Mark Middleton for my client Jason Downs. Attorney Zame had mentioned earlier that I believe he filed some additional paperwork in terms of the experience of the applicant. I haven't seen that information. I know that based upon the paperwork that was submitted.
Excuse me, Ryan, can you give this to Councilor Middleton?
I get my copy.
Oh, you do? Thank you. Oh, he's got a copy, all right.
Thank you. I like the record to reflect that this is the first time I'm seeing this. One thing I'd like to mention, and it's not to demean Mr. Murphy, I don't know Mr. Murphy, but in looking at the applicant's resume and history, it seems that it is very lacking in terms of managing a bar. At this point, we've not been able to obtain any evidence whatsoever, tax returns or W-2s, to ensure that, in fact, what he is saying in the application that he worked at Ward 8 is, in fact, true. So I would say to this commission that he hasn't demonstrated, Mr. Murphy has not demonstrated that, in fact, he can perform the functions and the duties of a manager of a bar.
Anything further, Counselor? Or?
No, that's it.
All right. Counselor Zane.
Thanks.
Sure.
As you know, from prior, Mr. Downs' prior letter that he hand-delivered to you, and the hearing we had, and now the subsequent letter that was delivered to your office yesterday with respect to Mr. Downs' objection to my client being the manager of record. For counsel to stand up here today and say to you that we need Mr. Murphy's tax returns is one of the documents he was asking for. He needs his tax returns to prove that he worked at Ward 8. It seems a little ridiculous and disingenuous from this perspective. That's where these guys met and started working together at that location. That's where they started, and if you read the articles that were in the newspaper when everything was going great amongst these three guys, when they were all friends, and they said, we're going to start a place together. That's where they met. So the fact that he's now saying he's not showing that experience, it doesn't seem to hold any water. And I want to point out to you that this gentleman's throwing out a lot of allegations. One of the allegations he threw out about this situation was that somehow the LFDC wanted him to run the show over there. They wanted him to be the manager. That demanded he take over as manager of record, that they demanded a meeting and they did all of these things and wanted him to run the show, is an absolute falsehood, okay? I contacted Mr. Cook at the LDFC, and I showed him the allegations that were set forth in the letter that Mr. Downs hand-delivered to the board. I'll show you that letter. I'm going to pass that letter, and I have copies. I'll give a copy to council right now as well. If I could approach.
Please. Just give us a second.
Sure.
Go ahead, Counsel.
So, as you see, is that he talks about one thing in his record is that there's something that took place that we now know didn't take place. Certainly, he said to this commission that he and in the newspaper, it was quoted in the newspaper that he wanted to take the place over. He didn't file any application to become the manager of record. He's done nothing to do that. As we mentioned before, he didn't notify the police about any of these things. He didn't notify the liquor commission, the license commission about any of these things until all of a sudden now. So in terms of, you want to talk about someone that, credible evidence, there is no credible evidence that from this gentleman here that supports any of these. The fact that we brought in $255,000 of receipts and that from distributors showing receipts for all of the purchases of the alcohol that these people did. Again, disputes another one of his claims. So in terms of the, the only guy objecting to this is the disgruntled former employee who has a poor work history and hasn't been able to hold down any job in the city. Based upon his temperament and based upon his MO is he comes in, he's all gung ho, and when things don't go his way, he takes his chef's hat and walks out the door. And then goes crying, saying he's the guy that got the short end of the stick here. So again, I don't think there's any credible evidence from this gentleman. And with respect to my clients, I think that his resume speaks for himself. What he's done there at the bar since he's worked it, and since the last couple of weeks shows, that it's this guy who's willing to step up to the plate. Mr. Downs' solution here is to have you guys suspend the license, shut it down, and so now you have the corporation, again, and I think it's a breach of his fiduciary duty to the corporation to say, hey guys, let's close up shop, rather than let's keep the ball rolling, let's keep the corporation open, let's keep it, let's stay in business. So again, that shows who's really motivated here to keep the business going and run the show, and that's clearly Mr. Murphy, and Mr. Downs is just a disgruntled guy who isn't very truthful. So.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Middleton, would you like to comment on Councilor Zame's comments?
Yes, thanks again very much for your time. Regarding the tax returns, what I'm getting at is the fact that we have the allegation that Mr. Murphy managed the bar. If we have the tax returns, we can have an idea if, in fact, he was being paid to manage the bar or not. That's why it might be helpful to get the tax returns and W-2s. In terms of the letter from Mr. Cook, this is hearsay. Mr. Cook is not here. He's not available for cross-examination, so I would actually ask that the commission strike this letter and not include it in its review. And,
Can I hold you right there, Councilor, for 1 second? I'd just like to get a legal perspective from the city. Attorney Veloso, concerning Councilor Middleton's statement concerning the letter from Mr. Cook, was that
Because this is the License Commission and not a court of law,
Yeah.
it's, for terms of Massachusetts law, deemed an administrative agency.
Yeah.
So as an administrative agency, the License Commission can take into account things such as police reports and hearsay statements. It is up to the License Commission, however, to deem whatever weight it feels is appropriate on whatever it receives. So for purposes of the letter, the License Commission can certainly receive it. However, the License Commission can't disregard it or deem it relevant to the proceedings. I would note, too, that for purposes of what's before the License Commission now, again, any ownership disputes are not before the License Commission, nor does it have the authority to consider licensing, or, my apologies, ownership disputes. The only...
all we're hearing is the application for a manager?
Correct.
Plain and simple. Okay, that's fine. Since both attorneys are up there, Commissioners, any further questions for either Mr. Zame or Mr. Middleton?
I have no further questions.
Any closing statements, gentlemen?
Commissioners, I'd like to just mention one other thing. I did receive the extensive paperwork from my brother counsel, Attorney Zame. However, in the email from Mr. Nguyen, he did specifically ask for checks. There were no checks to prove that the corporation, in fact, had been paying for that liquor with checks as opposed to cash, which my client has been making allegations that things have been being paid for by cash. So again, I would just
I'm
like...
sorry, so what's your point if it's cash or check? What's the difference?
The point is that they're taking money in out of the bar and they're paying for things instead of paying it through an approved liquor vendor with checks, so they have the accounting records. What my client is saying is they've been paying for things all along with cash. And again...
Okay, I'm still not following you. If they're paying by cash, you can still pay the distributor on delivery with cash. And if they're coming back every other week and you're paying with cash, that means you're up to date with the distributor and not on the ABCC list. So I don't follow your contention here.
The point is they might be, again, taking in sales and not classifying those sales in terms of paying taxes to the city, or to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts if they're running a cash operation and not paying for things and tracking their expenses through a checking account.
Yeah, but there'd be a a nightly report on the register, and that's how you pay your sales tax on a monthly basis to the state of Massachusetts. So I'm not sure if your
They may not be.
reasoning holds any water, Counselor.
My client, what he's saying is that they might not be registering those sales in the cash register. In other words, that they could be
You're
accepting
alleging
cash.
something that you're not giving me any proofs, though. I mean, I'm not sure if we should go that way. You had brought up that Mr. Murphy really didn't have experience as a manager. Unfortunately, you didn't know the chairman of this board's background, and I actually opened a bar 15 years ago in the city, and with no bar experience at all, but gave it my heart and soul. Now, if Mr. Murphy feels that he can do it and give his heart and soul to the business, then I applaud him for that. But not to have any experience, but maybe just a good head and know how to treat people in customer service, I think that's the way to go. Once again, primarily my concern here was the proxy vote, and if, in fact, that was legal. We can get into semantics about everything else, but there's an application before us. Got no felonies, there's no criminal background on the gentleman. He wants to own a bar. The other shareholder doesn't think so, but as of right now, I don't see a problem with this. Now, does Mr. Murphy know the responsibility he has ahead of him? I hope so, because it's a huge responsibility to be a manager of record and owning a business like this. Anything can happen, but if he wants to try it, who am I to stop him? That's my contention. Does the Lowell Police Department have anything they'd like to add to this? Deputy Superintendent Webb at all? Put the application, and has any of your officers dealt with Mr. Murphy in the past, or any problems?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not aware of any problems. The only recent thing that the police were involved with Dudley's was approximately 3 weeks ago. The Special Investigations Section went in and did an inspection of the bar and inspected what records were available to them then, and I was told that everything was in order, and they found no violations.
Okay. Any further comments, questions from the board concerning this matter? Or? All right. I would make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner McCarthy. Any further discussion on the motions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Note that Commissioner Krieger has voted no. Vote is 4-1. Approved. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Members, the commission respectfully request to go back to page 1 of our meeting agenda. We have an applicant for a special one-day license to sell, dispense all alcoholic beverages. Francie Slade of the Mill City Grows for an event at UTEC at 41 Warren Street. Farm to cocktail party for Thursday, June 16, 2016, from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Hi, state your name for the record.
Francie Slater.
Francie, you've held the license before, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Yes, you have. Questions, comments from the board?
Move approval.
Move for approval by Commissioner McGovern, seconded by Commissioner Hogan. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good luck with your event. Be
Thank
safe.
you so much.
All right.
We'll now proceed to page 2 of our meeting agenda, number 11 on our meeting agenda. Joel Lacidorian, the manager of record for Mill City Ballroom, the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee at 74 Merrimack Street, 3rd floor. The request for promoter licenses. These requests were submitted to the License Commission office a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, but not formally presented to the board at the last regular meeting, which was on April the 14th. So continuing the matter of a discussion with Mr. Lacidorian on upcoming activities from that date of April the 14th, Now proceeding with the promoter license request. On behalf of Joe Lessadorian, we have Jan Mistrick, who is Mr. Assadorian's representative. Mr. Assadorian is due back into the country from a vacation he had scheduled not too long ago, so Mr. Mistrick is here on his behalf to speak. Mr. Mistrick, by the way, is the manager of record for the Mill City Suds. The promoter request licenses, starting with Ronnie Carignan Jr. for the dates of the April 30th, May 1st, May 14th, May 21, 2016. Event times are 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. for each date. I just want to point out on the dates of April 30th and May 1st, Mr. Chairman, Fire Department had a question on some of the proposed activity that may be taking place on those 2 dates. Then there is a promoter license application for Nicholas B. Lewis for every Friday, I should say, from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Then there is one from Jonathan Guzman of Go Hard Entertainment, Inc. at 440 North Ave, Haverhill, Mass. for every Saturday from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And the last one is from Shane Cranmore at Savannah Entertainment, address at 176 Brush Hill Road, Milton, Mass. for every Saturday from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m.
State your name for record, please.
Jan Mistrick.
Hi, Jan. So tell us what's going on over there, and who are the gentlemen by your sides?
This is Ronnie B. Carignan, one of the gentlemen that we're requesting a promoter license for the April 30th, May 1st, May 14th, 21st of 2016.
What type of event is that?
It's a rock show.
Ronnie, what kind of entertainment we talking here?
It's a live concert.
Live concert?
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead, continue, Jan, I'm sorry.
And then Nicholas Lewis for the Friday nights between 10 and 2 a.m.
And what is that?
They have a Freak, it's called the Freak Friday.
Okay.
Freak Friday. It's every Friday event that we're putting together.
Okay.
Kind of like a little bit of everything, Spanish music, a little bit of hip hop, dance, kind of everything combined.
Okay, next one.
And then the other 2 gentlemen, Jonathan Guzman and Shane Kramer, are for Saturdays.
Yep.
They are not here. Shane Cranmore had to attend to his dad's surgery, and Jonathan Guzman is out of Massachusetts. He's not in Massachusetts and not due back until tomorrow.
Okay.
So they didn't arrive. And that is also for the Saturday events.
As I always do, I asked the Lowell Police Department, Deputy Superintendent Webb, any concerns with these applications?
Mr. Chairman, the police department would object to any promoter's license being given to Mr. Guzman. According to an article from the Lowell Sun from September 4th of 2007, on June 21st, 2005, Mr. Guzman was convicted of being an accessory after the fact of murder and was sentenced to 3.5 to 4 years in state prison regarding a murder that occurred in Lowell in June of 2004. Based on that newspaper article, we would object to him being used as a promoter in this city.
Thank you, sir. An, have any comment?
I was not aware of that, so
You're gonna,
not really.
we're gonna delete that.
I would assume so, yes.
Okay, all right. Any of the other events, Deputy Superintendent Webb?
No, nothing on the other gentleman, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, concerning the,
This seemed a little open-ended. Every Saturday, I'm not sure when does that terminate, every Saturday?
When we make a change to the event, so for Saturday, which is a social Saturday, from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., or the Fleek Friday, if we're going to change that and make it something else, then there would be a change. However, if it's going to be consistently the same type of an event, and we would like to have the promoter so that he can promote, so that we don't have to come here every other week or every month or every week to request the promoter's license for.
So
them.
this will go on into 2017, and
Hopefully, that that is the hope, that it just gets better.
Attorney
and-
Veloso, would they have to come back here in 2017 for a new license?
Yes, for, I think, common victulars and all alcohol license, you have to renew your license annually, and I believe the same would be true
promoter
for-
licenses as well, right?
Right, yes,
Yeah, okay.
for all licenses.
Just to
so.
note that, Jan, all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Good point, Commissioner, thank you. Any further?
No, I move approval.
Move forward.
Wait, 1 minute here.
Sure.
On the 2 PM to 10 PM, that's all ages, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so we're going to limit 1 drink per person?
Yes, we actually met for these events, we met with the fire department, also with the local police department,
Okay.
with Deputy Superintendent Webb.
Okay, appreciate
as
that,
well.
by the way.
Yeah, went over some.
We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner Hogan. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries for 3 of the 4 applications. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner will now proceed with number 12 on the meeting agenda, the hearing on the allegations of misconduct from William M. Taylor, the Superintendent of Police, dated April the 5th, 2016, regarding the Middle Street Village, Inc., doing business as the Village Smokehouse, Alan F. Kaplan, manager, the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee for premises at 9298 Middle Street for violation of law and regulation on March 10th, the 11th, 2016, to wit, A, selling or delivering an alcohol beverage to a person under 21 years of age in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 34. B, selling or delivering alcohol beverages to an intoxicated person in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 69. And ABCC CMR 204 CMR 2.5, Paragraph 2, no licensee for the sale of alcoholic beverages shall permit any disorder, disturbance, or illegality of any kind to take place in or on the licensed premises. The licensee shall be responsible, therefore, whether present or not.
Counselor, state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is John Hardigan. I've got an office here in Lowell. I am members of the commission. Good evening. I'm representing the Middle Street Village, Inc., DBA Village Smokehouse. With me this evening is Alan Kaplan, who's the manager of record. Also, Timothy Kelleher, who is the co-owner, and he was the manager on duty that evening.
Thank you. Any comment to the allegations, Counselor?
What I would like to do in this conversation is first begin by focusing the board's analysis on what I view, and I think what the SJC and the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission view of required findings in the event there's a violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 34, and/or Section 39. And that is that, one, there must be an affirmative finding that there's been a sale or delivery. It is not a consumption statute, it's a sale or delivery. So, initially, for the purpose of this conversation, what I would suggest is that we assume all of the statements, all of the observations, and all of the hearsay evidence contained in the 4 reports which were submitted to the license holders at this point, be acknowledged as accurate. And I think what that brings us to is, at that point, what do we have? We've got a 18-year-old who purchases a fraudulent fake ID on the internet, apparently a very good one. We also know that she spent, this is a Thursday evening, March 10th, she spent the first part of the evening at friends at Merrimack College. Now, I assume she wasn't there because they had extended hours at the library. Additionally, what we know is that she shows up at 11:05 p.m. at the smokehouse. She presents 2 forms of identification. One is a main license, which is as by her own admission apparently, is what she purchased from the internet. And then now this was given to the security personnel, and it was submitted to the scanner. Now, I've got some information about this scanner, but as best as I can tell, this thing can stop a truck. It's called a Token Works Model 310. Now, what it can do, as advertised, which they paid $1,400 for, it reads both, I can show it here. It reads both the magnetic strip on the ID and also the 2D barcode. So what it shows is, this is the magnetic strip, and it also reads the 2D barcode. So they give it to the security personnel, he sticks it in, They say go, she comes in. Apparently 97 minutes later, she is escorted from the premises horizontal through the Trinity ambulance or the EMS services. Excuse me. So, now, there's also apparently, and again, we're assuming for the sake of discussion, that the 18-year-old, a legal adult, had evidence of alcohol. Now, there's reference in the report that we received of a BAC. I have no idea what that is because the reports that we received were redacted. I had reached out to both the Sister Solidia's office and also the Deputy Superintendent to see if I could get clean copies of this, and to date I've got no response and I've been unsuccessful. So again, for the purpose of this analysis, we're assuming that there is evidence of the consumption of alcohol. I would object, just for the record, to any specific mention, reference to what that number is, because we have no idea what it is. Now, if that's the entire universe of the evidence, there is no evidence or supportable evidence of any consumption or any sale or delivery. But we know more than that, based upon these reports. We know that this woman is not going to be charged. We know this woman is never going to be charged. We know that there's no witnesses to the consumption in the establishment of alcohol. We know that there's no witnesses that can testify to the sale or delivery of alcohol. We also know that 2 statements were made by this woman. The first statement was made, recorded in Officer McDonald's report. And in essence, what he reports the woman is saying, I think I drank at the smokehouse as best as I can remember. Missing from that is any reference to, I bought a drink, they sold me a drink. The second statement given by the woman is contained in Sergeant Nobrega's report, and that's at 06:20 the following morning. And at this point, what she's saying is, I don't even know if I drank. And I'm reading from his report. Down at the bottom of the page, it says at approximately 06:20, Officer McDonald and myself talked to blank, i.e. the redacted report I don't have, and her parents about the situation. Blank informed us she bought the identification on the internet and could not remember if she drank at the smokehouse or prior to entering the establishment. So we're moving either further, now we're not even at consumption. First statement says, maybe I drank at the smokehouse as best as I can remember. Second one is, I don't even know if I drank there.
Do we have the security personnel or the bartender here?
We don't. We have Mr. Kelleher, who was present all evening.
Officer McDonald, is he here? Can you approach elected officer, please? Thank you, Counselor. I just want to clarify what I'm reading here. You were called to the scene at 1:15?
Yes,
1:15.
yes.
Thank you. That's all I have for you right now,
So it's 97 minutes after she enters the establishment.
which I'll get to that.
And apparently, she had no evidence, or there was no evidence of being intoxicated when she entered.
Right.
And I'm reading, and that's just from Superintendent Taylor's statement, which interestingly is not included in any report. So what the basis of that assessment is, and again, I don't dispute it, but what the basis of that assessment is not supported by any police report.
My question in the report, too, there's a second identification card that has not been identified that was presented by the 18-year-old. Do we know what that identification, that secondary identification was? Deputy Superintendent Webb, do we know?
No, I don't know what the second card is. Detective Alexander is here tonight, and he conducted a follow-up investigation along with Detective Coughlin.
Yeah. They could both approach a lectern, too. Thank you.
Later. Detective Alexander can tell you about a video that he has on his iPad that was obtained with Mr. Kelleher's cooperation of a party who we think is the young lady in question when she entered the establishment that night. And on that video, you do see this young woman hand over what appears to be a second ID to the person at the door, and they look at it and hand it back to her.
And they hand it back to her?
Yes.
All right. back to the counselor, and if you get that iPad ready for me, Detective, we'd like to see that, I think. Thank you very much. Counselor,
Mr.
hold
Chair-
on one sec. I'll let you speak in a minute. My question to you is, the security personnel at the door, are they aware of the ABC law concerning identification cards only from Massachusetts that can be taken as ID?
They are, but I think we've got to focus what that law is. All that says is that there's 3 specific Massachusetts identifications provision. 1, the license, 2, the liquor identification. And all that says is if there's a reasonable reliance, even though they may turn out to be fake, if there's a reasonable reliance on that,
Yep.
then that, in some instances, could be a defense to the allowance of a minor. And again, the violation isn't the allowance of the minor in. And I'm not suggesting that the Village Smokehouse supports 18 plus. They don't do that. They're not in that business. The violation is the service of alcohol. That's clearly what the law says. So the intent of that statute is if you take steps, meaning if you reasonably rely upon something, what I'm suggesting, and the intent of that statute is then you get a pass. What these gentlemen did was go out and spend $1,400 to buy this machine. The reality is that we're in a college town. The reality is that we're dealing with New England licenses. People come in and visit people. So what they have done is they've said, well, these are our options. We can either say, just Massachusetts. We all know at the University of Lowell, I mean, it's probably less than half now Massachusetts students.
Okay.
So what they did was, I'm suggesting that the intent of that statute is reasonable reliance. If you took steps, you should get the protection. I'd submit there is no difference once you go out and spend the money to, I mean, this is a barcode in the 2D. I mean, it's an incredibly effective fraud that this woman purchased.
Mr. Keller, did you have any problem with the detective taking that video just before we see that?
No, sir.
Do you have any problems with this, Counselor?
I do.
All right, let me hear you.
I do. As I said, we get redacted reports. I have a conversation with the assistant solicitor, and I say, I need to see that video. This is my client's video. I then leave a phone message to the deputy superintendent a week ago Tuesday. Not a response. So now they come in and they say, oh, you can see the video. I mean, I don't understand why my client's getting redacted reports. The woman's a legal adult. There's nothing to hide. It's all public information.
All right, before we watch the video, Detective, can you come to the... Hold on, Counselor, hold on.
I haven't even seen the video.
All right, I understand. Without seeing the video, but you have, in your professional opinion, was the 18-year-old intoxicated at 11:05?
Based on just the video, which, as you can probably
That's
imagine,
basically all we have right now.
it's difficult to determine,
Okay.
not being physically present.
That's
but
fine.
she does appear sober.
So she appears sober, but the doctor, once we get to the hospital, makes her stay to 6 o'clock in the morning, right? Am I correct in that? Which makes me feel that she is heavily intoxicated. So, which then begs the question, from 11:05 to 1:15, you're trying to tell me that the bartender at no time noticed that this woman was intoxicated, that she fell and had to have an ambulance called? I have an issue with that. I don't think you can combat that, Counselor. To say in 97 minutes, she's sober, so how many drinks did she have there? Was she drinking before, and was the bartender tip certified to notice that she had been drinking and maybe cut her off after 1 or 2? But this lady passed out at the bar. EMS was called to the scene and had to bring her to the hospital, and then the doctor said, you ain't going nowhere, you're still inebriated.
Mr. Chairman, I understand the difficulty you're having.
I appreciate that.
But
thank you.
The reality is that that's not what the law is. And I would focus, there's the old Willie Tops was a bar here in Lowell. And it goes back to a 2009 case, which was before this commission, appealed down to the ABCC, and they overturned it. In the facts as it relates to that, actually Sergeant Nobrega was then an officer, was involved in it. And there was a number of different asserted violations. But as it relates to this issue, and I've got copies of that case if the commission would like to see it. Basically what it says is that there was a gunshot reported at Lowell General Hospital. The police investigate, and what they do in connection with that investigation, they come in contact with a young girl. She has a conversation with the officer, and what she admits and apparently signs a statement that says, 1, I'm a minor, 2, I had consumed alcohol, 3, I had consumed alcohol at this Willie Tops, and 4, I never, or she doesn't say I never bought it, but she says, my friends gave me the alcohol. Now, I assume that the board at that time made the nexus between, 1, we've got a minor present, 2, there's evidence of consumption and or inebriation or intoxication or whatever word we want to use. Therefore, they made the connection that the license holder made the sale. And they found a violation of Section 34. They found a violation of Section 69, which to this point is one after the other. And then the license holder appealed it. And the License Commission, or the ABCC, said you can't do it. And if I could just read a couple of portions of that. What they talk about, the facts of the case are analogous, in the case they're talking about is the Willie Tops, are analogous to those in the Tiki Hut, Inc. versus the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission. In that case, the Supreme Judicial Court, now that's the SJC in Massachusetts, held that evidence that an underage person was found in possession of an alcoholic beverage inside a licensed premises is insufficient to prove a sale or delivery of alcoholic beverages by the licensee in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 34. The statutory language applicable to licenses focuses only on sale and deliveries. Therefore, since there was neither a finding nor evidence, which I would suggest is the case in this, or the situation in this case, the licensee sold or delivered an alcoholic beverage to a person below the legal age, the judge correctly ordered that the decision, including the finding violation, be set aside. So, I may disagree with the law, but the law is on these particular violations, 138 Section 34 and 138-69, there has to be a finding of sale and delivery. You can't make the nexus. Logical maybe, but you're prohibited by one SJC law in the ABCC.
Thank you, Counselor. Detective, first off, Elliot, Mr. Veloso, my apologies. Mr. Hardigan doesn't want us to see this video. What are the legal repercussions if we do see this? Does he have any merit in his statement that he was not given?
Well, the communication I received from Attorney Hardigan was he requested the unredacted police reports and he requested the video. He called me as a courtesy indicating that he would contact the police department to request both the unredacted police reports and the video. I indicated if he was putting in a public records request, he said he wasn't, but that he'd be contacting LPD. And then my understanding is that he contacted LPD, and that was the end of it. My position would be that he's not entitled to the unredacted police reports because they refer to a medical issue, which is, I would argue, under the public records law, prohibited under HIPAA, as well as I would argue Exemption C, the privacy exemption, and potentially an ongoing investigation, criminal investigation exemption under the public records law. In terms of the video, I don't know in terms of how it was produced or whether it could be produced. But my understanding was that Attorney Hardigan would bring that with the police department. And that was the last I heard from Attorney Hardigan. I haven't received any other communications.
Deputy Superintendent Webb, were you contacted or was by Counselor Hardigan?
Yes, I was, and he's correct. I did not return his call. Perhaps I misunderstood Attorney Veloso at the time, but I was under the impression that we were waiting to see if a public records request followed.
Okay. Detective, in the video that you saw, the young lady, 18 years old, was she at the bar for 97 minutes? Was she walking around? Was she at tables? Can you tell me what her actions were during those 97 minutes?
Certainly. Having gone to the bar, I did not know what this young female looked like because I had not responded the night before when the incident occurred. So all I had to go on was a RMV photo or a registry license picture. So when we watched her appear into the bar, it was at the front door camera, which is a very good quality camera, and it's a well-lit vestibule. So based on the time that the license was swiped through the machine and the time on the video camera, which Mr. Kelleher indicated was on, the time was accurate. She came in at 23:05 hours. And that's what time her card was swiped in the machine. At that time, myself and Detective Coughlin made a tentative ID based on her license photo. So you're able to see her as she comes in. Unfortunately, as far as, to answer your question, her time spent inside the bar, the cameras inside are black and white, they're grainy, there's a lot of strobe light activity, so it's very difficult to pick her out of the crowd. We were unable to locate her within the crowd based on the poor quality of the imagery.
So we could not tell if, who did she come in with at 11:05? One, two other patrons?
She appears to be by herself. There are two females next to her, but they appear to proceed into the bar without her and without really having waited for her. So she's either by herself or with two other individuals.
I really wish the bartender was here. I'd really like to question that person. Elliot, Mr. Veloso, in your legal opinion, do you have any problem with us taking a look at this video?
If it has no value, I mean, as the officer indicated, it's grainy and it may not be useful to identify it. Again, it's up to the License Commission as to whether or not the video should be viewed. In my opinion, the video could have probative value, it may not have probative value. I would suggest that with the materials that have already been presented, we've already have evidence and consideration that this woman has been in the bar.
I have a problem with somebody saying, I might have been drinking at the smokehouse. I might have been. She has no idea. She's totally intoxicated. This is where I have the problem. I do understand Councilor Hardigan's points here, but in 97 minutes, we're presuming that this young lady is fairly sober. 97 minutes later, she's being carried out on a stretcher on her way to Lowell General. Well, in 97 minutes, if my bartender's tip certified, he or she better know when somebody's intoxicated. And that person did not. Because that young lady was actually passed out. Being a previous bar owner, I got to tell you, I knew when somebody was inebriated, and it's time to get shut off. So, in my opinion, this young lady had already been drinking before she got there. Maybe she appeared to be sober. But in 97 minutes, an hour and a half, all right, maybe half an hour a drink, that's 3 drinks right there. Is that enough to send somebody to the hospital? She'd been drinking somewhere else. That's my assumption. And I think the bartender made an error. Personally, concerning the identifications, I think I agree with Councilor Hardigan. If I'm mistaken, Councilor Veloso, let me know. But I know that the ABC does say, they like to see the Massachusetts IDs, but I don't think it's illegal to accept an out-of-state license, and obviously a pretty good fake one. So I don't feel I can blame the manager or the security guard at that time. But the consumption of alcohol is a problem with me, and I'll yield the floor to my fellow commissioners for any questions or comments for either councilors or our legal counsel. Commissioner Krieger.
Yeah, I'm terrified that HIPAA has wormed its way into this. The second ID, I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, she presents her school ID, which doesn't have a birthday on it. Mine from UMass Lowell doesn't have my birthday on it. I'm still going to school. So I could understand the 2 IDs. Someone says, hey, but this is from me, and she says, yeah, but I'm from Massachusetts. Here's my school ID. I'm concerned, though, that what the SJC has set us up for is that the next time we have a hearing like this, we're going to have to demand that the whole crowd from the village smokehouse is here so that we can question them. So we may be making this harder on ourselves and on our clients than we need to. That's my concern about this. Yeah, the SJC seems to be pretty straightforward. Have they made mistakes in the past? Yeah, so does the Supreme Court.
Thank you,
Mr. Krieger,
Commissioner.
to your point, I think most of the situations are where either the ABCC comes in on an inspection or the police come in with a compliance check, which actually they were at the Village Smokehouse on March 25th. They walk in, they take a look at the room, and they see if anybody is young. And then they go up and they see that they've got a solo cup or a glass of beer or a martini or whatever they may have. This is, I would suggest, an atypical situation where there is clearly there's no evidence of any sale or delivery. So, I mean, it's a good law. It may not apply.
I take your point that there's no evidence, but somehow appears that she managed to consume alcohol in 97 minutes, enough to take her from being upright and walking pretty straightforward to being blotto.
I think that would, 2 points to that. One, the Village Smokehouse has on staff, unfortunately, I don't think this evening, but they've got a female security personnel. And that's not to, keep everybody in order. Her primary obligation is to monitor, believe it or not, the ladies' room. Because what you find is people come in, because there is no scanning, there is no body searching, they search a knapsack, but if somebody comes in with a purse, who knows what's in that purse? So, is it inconceivable that this young woman, and again, you've got to picture this. She walks in, she knows there's a detailed police officer standing right there. As the detective said, it's well lit. There's a camera there. The only thing that's missing on that camera that says, if you're putting a fake ID on, you're on camera. So she's nervous. Now, is she going to say, am I going to risk this again and go present this ID again? To me, it's not inconceivable. What this kid does is bring in nips or God knows whatever other substance she may have brought. She spent the night at Merrimack College on a Thursday evening in a college. My guess is she had this is a premeditation. I'm going to buy a fake ID. I'm not getting it for a senior discount. I'm getting it to get into the Village Smokehouse or any other establishment. So,
Are you telling the board that this young lady went to the bar and got herself a Coke and went to the bathroom and then put some Bacardi rum in it?
I have no idea. I have no understanding that she
You're
got
losing
close
me,
to the bar.
Counselor. You had me. Now you're starting to...
No, what I'm saying is that there's we didn't serve her. There's no evidence that we served her. And that's what's required to be found on this violation.
All right, let me ask the detective. At any time, did you see an alcoholic beverage in that young lady's hands?
Based on the video, again, I couldn't identify her once she was inside the bar. So when she entered the bar, I did not see any alcoholic beverages in her hand. She had just a purse with her.
Officer McDonald, can you come back to the lectern again? In your professional opinion, was this young lady totally and highly intoxicated?
When I arrived, she was laying down on the bench and she was incoherent. She was breathing, but she wouldn't wake up till, a few hours after when I went back to the hospital for a follow-up.
Don't feel I'm being disrespectful, but can you answer the question?
I'm sorry?
Can you answer my question, please? Do you feel, in your professional opinion, that that young lady was highly intoxicated?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
May I ask one more question, officer? Is it possible that she wasn't intoxicated with alcohol, but had been playing with drugs, and that had caused her to pass out? I'm not asking a big probability, just a small probability.
I'm not 100% sure.
I would, in reading the report from the officer, I believe the doctor at the hospital said that she was intoxicated, and therefore he wanted her to stay a longer time. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, Commissioner, but Other commissioners, any other comments, questions for either Councilor Hardigan or our legal counsel?
Well, I too have a question on the 97 minutes. She had to be drinking in the establishment to be in there. She had to be drinking something. The bartender should have been aware of this. Kind of hard in 97 minutes to get yourself to the condition that she was in.
I'm equally mystified by that, Mr. McCarthy, But again, I don't want to sound like a broken record. The consumption isn't an element of the statute. The superintendent named 2 specific statutes. He could have charged the bar with other violations. He didn't. I have the same trouble as you do. My suspicion is it may not have been alcohol. It may have been something else, which clearly we're not providing, in addition to not providing alcohol.
Commissioner Hogan?
Officer McDonald, could I ask you to come up one more time, please? When you went to the establishment and you were led over to where this girl was lying down, you said, on a bench,
Right.
Was she alone? Did she have any
Yes.
friends with her? No one was standing around her?
Nope.
Who found her?
The officer that was working the detail that night.
So the officer found her, not even an employee?
I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, there was a radio transmission for a person down by the officer that was working the detail.
Okay. Thank you. Well, did you question her at the hospital?
I'm sorry?
Did you question this young girl at the hospital?
I did.
And did she say she was there alone, or she was...
She did say she was there alone. She was with friends earlier at Merrimack College. That's
And
all she...
She left
stated.
Merrimack College by herself and went to a bar in downtown Lowell alone.
Apparently.
Alrighty.
Commissioner Hogan, Mr. Kelleher would tell you that his employee was the one that alerted the detail officer to come over to the situation.
Thank you.
Anything further from the commissioners? Anything further, Counselor?
I do. I have one final comment. I've not heard anything from the Assistant City Solicitor which would contradict what I'm suggesting to the board is what Mass law says. I mean, I hear no objection, so given that, I assume that's the proper analysis.
Attorney Veloso, any comment?
I disagree with that analysis. I think that, given what has been presented, both the testimony and the redacted reports, there is an indication that she entered this facility and that she was intoxicated when she was found. And under the statute, the requirement is delivery. And, the License Commission can certainly reasonably infer, given all of the information present, that this woman was intoxicated on the premises, that it's reasonable to infer that she was served an alcoholic beverage. And for that matter, I think it's reasonable to infer that she was underage, given what was found out, in terms of her identity. Therefore, I would submit that there is reasonable information to infer that there was a violation on these premises.
One last time, Counselor.
I would suggest that there's a difference between opinions in what the law says. I've got copies of the Willie Tops case, which cites the SJC law.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. First of all, I will say that since the last time the smokehouse has been in here, since that time, which I believe is 2.5 years ago, does that sound right, Ryan? The establishment has been run very well. Any objections to that, Deputy Superintendent Webb?
No, Mr. Chairman, I would not object
All
to
right.
that.
And it looks as though at this incident, that the officers in the report said that Mr. Kelleher was very cooperative and very professional, which bodes well. I think it might behoove this commission to take the allegations one at a time, and I'm not making a motion. I'm going to state my case, and if anybody else would like to chime in, that's fine. Selling or delivering an alcoholic beverage to a person under 21 age in a violation of MGL Chapter 138, Section 34, I would find that the smokehouse would not be guilty of that for the fact that I think we got caught with a very good ID. They scanned it like they were supposed to, their procedure, scanned it through the machine, and you know what? That one got away. Just happened. I'll skip to the third one, which is the violation of 204 CMR 2.05. No licensee with the sale of alcoholic beverages shall permit any disorder, disturbance, or illegality of any kind to take place on the licensed premises. The licensee shall be responsible, therefore, whether present or not. I will, if not nobody else, I would probably place that on file. However, I do have a problem with selling or delivering alcoholic beverages to an intoxicated person in violation of MGL Chapter 138, Section 69. I think it would have been in the smokehouse's best interest if they would have presented the bartender here. I really do, because if that bartender would have said, you know what, I didn't serve, I don't know who, you know what, I probably would have said, okay, it happened. But that bartender's not here. In 97 minutes, there was a patron on the ground with Trinity on their way, transporting to Lowell General Hospital. I have a problem with that. I just don't know how that can happen, and especially with testimony from the girl saying, I think I was there, makes me feel as though she had had a few. She maybe disguised it pretty well when she came in and didn't look like she was intoxicated, but a seasoned bartender would have picked up on that and made sure she either didn't have a drink when she first got in or said, you know what, after the first one, you shut off. But I'm still a little don't know about this, because I think Commissioner Hogan brings up a great point here. Why is this girl coming from Merrimack College all by herself to a bar in Lowell? Was she going to meet somebody? I don't know. I guess not. I mean, but that, to me, in 97 minutes, maybe 3 drinks. I don't know what the girl is. I don't know if she's small, large. I don't know how much alcohol she can consume at this point. I really don't. But all I know is she's on a stretcher in an ambulance. And when they get to the hospital, they don't just really discharge her. The doctor in charge there says, you're going to wait a little bit, and we'll send you when I'm good and ready, because you're still inebriated. So I'll yield the floor to my fellow commissioners and get their opinions, but if nothing does come from that, I will be making a motion.
If I may interject, Mr. Chairman?
Sure, you may.
Mr. Kelleher would tell you, I mean, we're not trying to play hide the ball with not bringing bartenders. Mr. Kelleher would tell you, and is available to tell you this evening, and on that night, there was 7 bartenders on duty. So our choice is to parade 7 bartenders. He would tell you that he had conversations with each of these bartenders that night and said, never saw the lady, don't know who she is. Obviously, I mean, there's a lot of commotion going on, so even though it's busy, people stop and say, what's wrong with this kid? So nobody's playing hide the ball. If we had one bartender to bring that says, never saw the 18-year-old, but as I said, Mr. Kelleher is available to have that conversation with you.
All right, thank you. Anything further, commissioners?
I'm with you. Put C on file. Misidentifying the age. I don't see that that's a problem. The delivery of a beverage to an intoxicated person, that gets into the question of the bar's responsibility to keep an eye on the various and sundry patrons to make sure that nothing's going wrong. I think this is a serious issue. I think the smokehouse has been keeping its nose clean the last couple of years, as the chairman has noted. I would go for one day and hold it in abeyance.
I would second that.
Any further discussion on the motion? As a chairman, I'd like to make a comment. I will vote in favor of this motion. But as my father would say to me when I was a young child, you are skating on very thin ice, young man. Be careful, guys. I think Commissioner Krieger's motion is quite lenient. I will vote on his side, though. But when we start carrying patrons out and put them into EMS vehicles, that's a problem. And if none of your bartenders don't even remember this person, that's even more of a problem to me. That means somebody isn't telling somebody behind the bar that they think that that person is intoxicated. So there's no communication between 7 bartenders. So anybody that comes up to the bar and says, hey, can I have this, this, and this? Yeah, no problem. They turn around, they hand it to them, give me your money, and I'll see you in 20 minutes. I got a problem with that. So maybe I'm in a good mood tonight. I'm not sure.
I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, that although there were 7 bartenders and no one seems to remember this girl, I would have to take it on the word of Mr. Kelleher that none of these bartenders remember this girl, because I have to imagine that if she got to the point where she passed out cold, someone's going to recall seeing her go to the bar to get a drink, or someone's going to recall her trying to order. I mean, clearly she must have had more than one beverage. I have a few issues with this. There's a lot of things that don't add up. You know, there's a lot of stuff that concerns me on behalf of this girl. You know, I would submit that she is well over 60% responsible and at fault for the occurrences of that evening. Well, I would have to say, I would very much like to see the smokehouse have, you know, a regular route that one of their security guards travels, just to be sure that things like this don't necessarily get to this point. You know, that would make me feel better. But I do think that you've, you know, really done the best that you can. You've got, you know, the scanner, you've got a female security guard that checks, you know, the bathrooms. I think that you're making a fairly good effort. Clearly, this is a case of, you know, no good deed goes unpunished, and there's always more that you can do. So I would hope that you would take that under advisement for the future.
Commissioner McCarthy, Commissioner McGovern?
Well, a motion's been made, am I correct?
Yes, it has been.
Seconded?
Yes.
I have no problem.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Krieger that there be 1-day suspension. That 1 day be held in abeyance. I would ask Commissioner Krieger to hold that 1 day in abeyance for 1 year, if he's okay with that.
Okay, by me.
The motion was seconded by Commissioner Hogan. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Gentlemen, have a good night.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just to
Sure.
reiterate the items we have here for the violations, alleged violations. So the License Commission has not found violation with number A, sale or delivery to a person under 21 years of age. No
A and C to be placed on file.
placed on file. And violation on number B, on letter B.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Councilor Harrigan, thank you very much. Gentlemen, have a good night.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Move adjournment.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner Hogan to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Everyone have a good night.